Okay, great. So, your journey has been quite remarkable, transitioning from a successful corporate career to becoming an award-winning entrepreneur and international speaker. So, can you please share the pivotal moment or realization that led you to make this life-changing decision in 2019?
Hi, Rene. So firstly, it's lovely to talk to you today here. And yeah, absolutely. I think what really happened with me is at one point, there was a point, and I remember that point well. I looked around and the life that I was actually living just didn't feel quite complete. Even, despite all of the material possessions and everything I've accumulated, there was this like void, I think, that nothing could fill anymore. No money, no holiday, no shoes, no bags. It was just nothing. And the thing is, the longer I was ignoring this void, the bigger it was getting. And I actually remember that, you asked me about the pivotal moments. I remember that day so vividly. It was June or July 2018, and I was in my car driving on our way to the office. I was contracting back then in a different town. So it was about maybe an hour, 2 hours away, depending on the traffic. And the day before, a friend of mine sent me a video, and she said to me, check out this guy, you might like his content. And I was like, oh, not another self-help, please. I don't want that. I'm just going to listen to my radio tunes. But the radio tunes were absolutely awful that day. So I put that video on, and that was basically the start of my journey. It was Dr. Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Joe. He's a neuroscientist, and really his whole life purpose or journey been in bridging this spiritual world with the scientific world. And he was sharing there his, how it all started for him when he was a young chiropractor. He was in a triathlon, and he got whacked off the bike by this massive bus or something, and he was pretty much paralyzed. The doctors told him he'll never walk again. He needed surgery, and he refused the surgery. He refused everything, and he started healing his body with the power of his mind. And since then, it just had such a profound impact on me that I remember getting to the office. I downloaded every single one of his books because I had hours to kill in the car. And that was that night, that first time I actually tried meditation. And then Dr. Joe, coincidentally, came to UK a few months after, and I went to his 7-day retreat. And as they say, the rest was history.
Sounds like there are no consequences in life.
No, none. We think they are, but everything is predetermined.
Yeah, but bridging the gap between the corporate and spiritual worlds is at the core of your mission. So how do you perceive the similarities or connections between those two seemingly different spheres, and how do they come together in your work?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think they're different at all, because we are not different people from who we are at home with our friends and at work. We may be trying to be, or we think we are, but we are whole one holistic human being. And when, spirituality is a broad term, right? And I'm sure if you ask different people, they'll give you different answers. But I think at the core of it, spirituality is all about self-understanding, and it refers to the purpose and meaning that we give to our lives. So when we understand ourselves, we can start accepting ourselves and walk our own path rather than trying to meet expectations of our parents, society, friends, family, etc. Right? And instead of doing that and spending our life doing something that we're okay with doing, but we know that there is something bigger trying to emerge through us, and ignoring that calling because we don't want to upset someone else, that causes, I believe that's the true cause of suffering and burnouts and depression. But when we know who we are, we can choose the path that is right for us and that feels more in alignment with our hearts and with our souls. And I know that, because I speak at quite a lot of corporate events, and I network with a lot of people nowadays. So a lot of organizations, they invest in personal development of the people, and that's what spirituality is. It's like self-understanding. So then it not only helps people to identify their strengths and weaknesses, but also to manage their emotions. And when we are in control of our emotions, we make different decisions, we act differently, we behave differently. So, and that's what I believe spirituality offers, is that self-knowledge. And I think it was Buddha, he said that spirituality really is releasing all suffering through understanding of reality. And release of that suffering really begins with our self-understanding.
I really liked when you mentioned that actually it doesn't matter if we're at work or if we are at home, we're still like the same human being. Like I'm a marketer, but I'm a background, so like kind of in marketing, just like, are you doing B2C marketing or are you doing B2B? Like what I actually like to like, I'm a firm believer of H2H marketing, so human to human. So like you can be a business who is marketing or selling your service and you're doing marketing, and then you're like thinking, okay, how do I address this other business? What is the key stakeholders? What are the pains and problems? But at the end of the day, whoever is the decider, yeah, he might be a manager in a company and make big decisions that have impact on the revenue and things like that. But at the same time, he's also a human being. So yeah, I totally agree with you.
And we sometimes forget that, right? I
Yeah.
think it's quite an overused term, but I'm going to say we kind of got to remind ourselves that we're not a human doings, we're human beings. And remembering our humanity, especially now with all this artificial intelligence and the way technology is growing, I think it's crucial to even our survival of the species. That's my personal opinion.
Building better self-knowledge is a lifelong journey. What would you say are some practical habits or strategies that you have found effective in gaining deeper insights into oneself? Are there any specific practices or exercises that you have found particularly helpful in your personal development and self-discovery journey?
How much time do we have? Like, I don't even know where to start with that, honestly. I really started just with meditating, and I mentioned to you with, me discovering Dr. Joe and reading the books. I started going more in this like personal development courses. But what I found, and it took me good maybe 3 years of daily meditating, and sometimes even 3 times a day. And when I'd go to this retreats, would meditate 10 hours sometimes a day. But I found that even though my perception of reality was shifting and I saw changes in my life, within me and also in my outer worlds, even though the changes in the outer worlds, I was always wondering why things are all falling apart, not realizing that things do need to fall apart before they can all come together, because it's literally rebuilds everything, your foundation, your structure. But what I did find is that I was still quite reactive, and especially my emotions that ran the show, meaning that I was at a mercy of external circumstances, and what I realized, and that's probably maybe was a year and a half, 2 years ago, my goal really became to become completely self-sustained, meaning that I wanted to choose my emotional state of being, regardless of what the circumstances are. And one of the best tools I've come across that really deepened, and I don't know if it's accelerated because there is no time on this kind of journey, but it was a tool of human design. And I'm actually going to be talking about it in January at the startup event a little bit. But have you ever heard about Myers-Briggs, DISC, Strength Finder, those profiling tools, Enneagram, maybe? So those are the kind of profiling tools that measure your strength, your weaknesses. So human design is a kind of a profiling tool, but it's a tool also for self-awareness, for deepening connection and self-knowledge. And it introduces our energetic component to it, and seeing that we are all energy, it helps us to get into alignment with our true nature. And it literally shows you how genetically, and that's a really interesting thing about it, you don't have to answer a single question, but assesses you completely on energetic level, your conscious and also your subconscious side. So it shows you how you are wired to optimize your energy, because nothing in our lives can change until we change our energy. So it shows you how to best optimize your energy, how you are wired to make decisions, communicate, what's your life purpose, and so much more. So that's probably been my go-to tool for a while. And then also, you know, just being part of some other, I guess, spiritual circles and coaching and mentors. So it was a blend of everything, but human design definitely had a big, profound effect on this journey.
Many people like kind of struggle to find their purpose, like whether they're young and just starting their careers, or they're more mature and experienced people who are going through, you know, a midlife crisis. What advice would you give for individual? What kind of advice do you have for individuals in these different life phases to discover and pursue their true purpose?
Yeah, so it's a great question. You know, I mean, I have chased my purpose most of my life, and I'm actually going to be speaking on this topic at the HR week, end of November. And what I've found is that our passion will lead us to our purpose. Basically, you know, the things that we are excited and passionate about. And the key thing here, our passions don't even have to be work related, like none of it. Let's say you are into marketing, but maybe your passion is gardening, right? And when you start your day, when you start prioritizing things you are passionate about, you will finally find your way into purpose. It can still be marketing, but maybe there's going to be an angle to it, or some, you know, different ways that you haven't explored it. So it's like figuring out your passions, like, and starting your day or focusing them as much as you can, even if it means like waking up 10 minutes earlier and like doing a bit of gardening and then going to your work. And if you work from home, then, you know, how can you have more of whatever it is that fulfills you, that lights up your heart and soul? How can you put more of that into your day? Once again, it doesn't need to be work related, because remember what I said earlier, change your energy, change your life. And until you change your energy, you can't change your life. So when we do things that we're passionate about, it excites us as much as we can, it's like things externally almost begin to rearrange. We start meeting different people, different opportunities. We end up in a different locations, and it's like following breadcrumbs. But it's interesting how that the whole thing then comes together. And another thing I would say, really becoming very mindful of everything that drains your energy. We often, you know, get involved with things that we think we should be doing, and at the end of it, we feel completely drained. So how can you get rid of it? And I remember initially when I was working with a mentor, she told me to get rid of everything that drains my energy. I thought she was mad. I was like, I still have to do them. But it's, once again, it's really interesting what happens in this world is when you focus on your energy, you focus on your excitement, you really prioritize it, things that drain you, somehow they like fall away. Either somebody else can come and give you helping hands, or they just vanish, right? And even if you start your day on a high with a high level of energy, by the time you get to the task that you don't like doing, that drains you, you somehow don't even notice it. Like you just complete it a lot faster because you're like buzzing. It's like, yeah, I can do that, you know, or it just gets taken care of. So my advice, always prioritize your energy, look at things and people, right? Things, people, actions, habits that drain you. And the last question, that's maybe like more for like a journaling prompt, to ask yourself if time, money, and age, because those are the three limiting factors, if they were not an issue, what would I like to do with my life? So it's really like contemplating and, you know, meditating or journaling on that.
I really love your answers, because I just, while you were giving your answer, in my head, I were thinking about answers from my perspective to those things you just said.
So what was coming up for you?
Many like I feel that we kind of share the same philosophy, because like I'm a firm believer of the law of attraction. So kind of you get what you give your power to. When you're like when you're in a hurry, for example, you go to a meeting and you're driving there, and you're like, in your head, when you're thinking, oh God, I'm going to be late, then you will be late. But actually, yeah, when you're running late, but you're like being more positive, I will make it there, no worries. Like maybe I will be 1 2 minutes late, but doesn't like kill anyone. That's fine. And it kind of have it has a different outcome do whatever thing that you're going to do based on how you were thinking in your head about the situation where you are in.
Absolutely. You know, intention is everything. So it's almost having this like attitude of gratitude, you know, well, I'll be late, and perfect, because reality doesn't make mistakes. I'm supposed to be late. I'm supposed to be in this traffic. I'm supposed to be here. And it's like literally accepting where you are is where you need to be. And it just shifts your energy, right? Because you stop giving your energy away to the traffic, to people, to the external circumstances, because we're not in control of that. The only thing we can control is ourselves. And then again, it shifts your energy, and you always, like what you mentioned with the law of attraction, you always attract things that are matched to your energy. So whenever you know, the mornings you wake up and you're like, oh, another day, more things to do, and then you spill your coffee, and then you get stuck in a traffic jam, and somebody swears at you in a supermarket because of your energy. But when you wake up and you feel positive, you know, maybe you set an intention for the day, how you want it to unfold, and things are all working out. Everything responds to your energy. So yeah, law of attraction, absolutely.
You have co-authored a book that is titled You Can Have It All, which explores the idea of balancing different aspects of life. Can you maybe share like a few insights or tips on how individuals can balance their professional and personal lives while pursuing their purpose?
Yeah, and that's what's basically, you know, it takes me to what I earlier said. We are not separate beings. We are one individual. And sometimes people would come up to me, you know, it's at events, and they will say like, I hide my spirituality from my family or from my colleagues because I don't feel confident enough. And that creates, I guess, a misalignment. You know, it becomes really hard trying to pretend who you are not, because it takes just a lot more energy being who you're not than who you truly are. So it's, I mean, there's different ways of how you can really bring this into balance, but maybe just start even making small adjustments, you know, small steps, because we are the creatures of habit. And if you try to do something that we are not ready, so let's say you've got, you know, at home, you're like one person, at work you show up with a completely different attitude, and if you just try to bring your home self to work self, you may not feel ready, and you just like feel like you're imposing or you're self-imposing. So the best thing I can suggest is just break it into small manageable steps. Maybe one day you speak to your colleague and you share something of your personal life, and you go, that feels safe. You know, what is the next step I can do? And start building those building blocks almost. And then slowly you'll begin to integrate yourself, because that's what I've been doing, you know, for years. When I started meditating and everything, and I was a contractor, was working in London, very corporate, and I didn't know how to balance those two sides of me. So I would actually go at lunchtime to the bathroom and I would meditate there, because I was craving that peace and that silence. And my colleagues would like say to me, like, where do you disappear for like 40 minutes? Because I was always a person, I'd never take a break. I would work through my lunch hour, and all of a sudden, like, nobody can find me. And I was like, you know, like, what do I tell them? And then I spoke to one, and they're like, that's pretty cool. And I was like, maybe it's not so weird, you know? And slowly I kind of built this confidence, and that actually made me happier, because I didn't have to hide in a bathrooms. I'll be like, guys, I'm going to go meditate. Maybe I'll do walking meditation, be like, oh yeah, we'll see you later. So it's just like finding that one small safe thing that you can do and start building on that.
What is the most valuable lesson you have learned throughout your journey from the corporate professional to award-winning entrepreneur sphere where you're right now, and how can others apply that lessons to their own paths of self-discovery and purpose?
Well, that's, I guess, another point where, I mean, you know, it's been like a journey of quite a few years. But I think the lesson, and I've mentioned earlier when we spoke now, is that there are no mistakes in life, right? And that's what I've learned, that when something doesn't work out, it's because it's just not meant. It's not meant to. When you can't figure something out, it's because you are not meant to. And trying to fix it, to force it, to bend it to our will is what actually creates suffering. When we start arguing with reality, when we start arguing with life and saying, no, that's not how things should be. It should be my way. but there is, I mean, I believe that there is a higher power that is orchestrating our lives. And actually, when we surrender to this kind of energy, we just let go, then you begin to become an observer of your life and be pretty much amazed at how everything falls into place. You know, when I first left my career, I got involved in network marketing. And I don't even know anything about network marketing, but it's like a lot of like sales, a lot of conversations. And I'm not a salesy person. It's just not something I enjoy. And I remember there was one opportunity that came to me, and it would have been like a lifetime opportunity where I could have made so much money. And I got so excited about it. So I went to the top management and I told them, and they shut it down. And I was like, no. Well, I was gutted. And then I remember driving in a car later and I'm like, maybe it was meant to happen. Maybe I wasn't meant to have this opportunity because something else is meant for me. And about 3 months after, I burnt out. I had 3 energy burnouts, and then I've left that company and my life took me in a completely different direction, different path, right? But if that opportunity happens, I wouldn't be, because this, what I believe I'm doing is my life purpose. Like for now, at least, our purpose is always evolving, and network marketing was not in alignment with me at all. So, and that was, I think, the big lesson is like, let it go, let things go. Because so many times in our life, when we think something is the worst thing, it actually ends up being the best thing. So less arguing with reality and more accepting what is my short answer to your question.
And I would also add that like the ability to read the signs around you, like when something happens, then you like try to see what kind of value it might bring to you at one point.
Yes, absolutely. Well said. Exactly. Because every single thing is a lesson, every single thing, so whenever like something happened, even if you were like rude to someone, you shouted at someone, relationship fell apart, the business deal went south. The only question we can ask ourselves, what is the lesson? That's it. Because let that be bygone, right? And then you take that lesson and you apply it to your future, or not, or you can ruminate about it, you can judge it, and what will happen is the same thing will repeat over and over. And that's why people go, why does it always happen to me? Because you haven't learned the lesson. So viewing every single situation, especially the ones that didn't go according to your plan, that is so important. What is the lesson? How can I make it better next time? And just keep moving forward.
Basically, every experience that you have a like toolbox, and every experience that you have gives you another tool to your toolbox, and then your toolbox kind of expands.
Exactly, right? Because we learn through life experiences. I mean, yeah, we can learn through books, but it's not our experiences. Because when you really integrate your experience, it becomes your knowledge, right? Until then, it's just something you've read, you believe, but your beliefs are open to misinterpretations. But when it really happens to you, when you take this lesson, when you apply it, that's become the true knowing. That's become your inner knowledge, your inner knowingness. That's, you don't even need to believe it, because it's like, you don't need to convince somebody the sun is going to rise tomorrow. It's going to happen, right? So when you take these lessons and you learn from them, you integrate them, you don't need to convince anybody of anything, because it's your truth.
Exactly. Last but not least, could you also please say in a few words regarding what we'll be talking about at the Startup Day event next year?
Yes, so my topic is called The Future of Productivity, How to Work Less and Achieve More. And I'm basically going to be talking about the new measure, or the measure of productivity we should really start looking into, which is our energy. Because as I've mentioned a lot on this conversation we had, unless we change our energy, we cannot change our life. And our energy directly impacts our productivity, our focus, our happiness, and our health. So I'm basically going to be talking about 3 key elements, or 3 keys to help us unlock that effortless productivity and to accomplish a lot more and gain back a lot of personal time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lena, for your time. And I look forward to see you on the stage during the startup day. And yes, thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you, Rene.
Yeah.